Kay's Tiny House Adventures, where I provide updates on building my tiny house and the property where I want to park the tiny house. Now, last week was all about putting the metal or belly pan on the bottom of my trailer. I did a ton of research before buying my trailer even to figure out what's going to be the bottom of the trailer. The most popular solution that I've seen on other YouTube videos and blogs is to buy sheets of galvanized metal, and you basically go under the trailer and unroll those sheets and screw it into the trailer. Now, caveat with this is it's very flimsy. It does a lot of this at the end, and it's really hard to keep straight. So you'll also see people come up with some interesting ways to try and keep it straight and keep it up so that the other person can then screw in the piece of metal. Many of the videos I saw were like, this is the worst thing, I would never do this again. So my goal, my intention was to have the tiny house trailer company add the belly pan for me. Unfortunately, due to supply chain issues, they weren't able to do it. So I had to figure out, okay, what am I gonna do? So I found one video where the guy used 5V, which is a type of roofing, metal roofing siding. So I was like, okay, maybe I'll do something like that. It's more structural, it doesn't wave as much, and it'll just be easier to keep straight and square as we're trying to attach all the pieces. Last video, I told the story, or a couple videos ago, I told the story about going to Metal Mart, and the dude was an absolute boss and found us a sweet deal on, instead of getting 5V, to settle for a metal mini rib. That's what I was looking for, mini rib, which looks like this. And it was in beige, but I didn't care because it's gonna be on the bottom and no one's ever gonna see it. And again, this dude was awesome, was trying to help me save money in all these random places. So we also recommended these pancake screws with like a square head. And the idea was that, you know, because the metal is underneath the trailer, it wouldn't really need a washer because like rain and elements aren't coming down, right? So it was a nice idea, but when Doug and I set up the first sheet, which was the most important sheet, because if that was square and in the right place, then all the sheets would follow and it would be very easy. So we started with the pancake screws, but they were not cutting it. So Doug found some other leftover screws that happened to be brown. So I had silver screws, brown screws. I bought lag screws, which are the screws where it's like metal sheet over metal sheet to put together. Those were beige because I was like, why not? It's gonna match the paint, doesn't really matter. So I had to go back to Metal Mart, return the pancake screws that I did not open, and buy more of the ones with the washer. And just that head was easier to like torque up, because another thing is when you're lying on the ground underneath the trailer and trying to drill against gravity, it's a lot of strength is required. Yep. Otherwise, the pancake screws kept flying, and like if you just went a little not straight with the drill, things happened under there. We won't talk about it. One way for us to keep that one sheet, which is a little over 10 feet long and about 2 feet wide, was we decided to get pieces of spare wood and clamps and clamp them to the cross beams. And then Doug had a couple of hydraulic jacks that we were able to hold up the other side of the board with underneath the trailer. And that worked really well. The trailer is great. It's so square. It's wonderful. I am so appreciative of the manufacturer. I bought it through Tiny House Basics. Definitely recommend. And yeah, there was just no problem after we got the new screws I just decided to stick with the brown ones. Bless you, Taco. Stick with the brown ones because why not? we'll just have a menagerie of screws under there. It's all a mismatch. The first sheet was 1 day because we had done something earlier. Maybe it was more nets and stuff. I don't remember, but no. It was one morning before work. So I had like an hour and a half, which isn't a ton of time to like do a bunch of stuff, but it was enough time to figure out what our system and our game plan was gonna be. So we figured out with the clamps and the jacks and squaring that one sheet really well. And then a couple of days later, we decided to finish it off. We started out with some more netting, which y'all saw in the last video. You gonna join me? What are we doing today, Rin?
We're playing today.
We're playing, but what are we doing in the vineyard?
We're just playing in Doug and Debbie's house.
Oh, we're playing at Doug and Debbie's house? Okay. Yay!
Yay!
Unfortunately, Doug's tractor, our favorite guest star of this vlog, got a flat tire. You could hear it hissing, and we were thinking, well, we could try and ride on it, but that was scary. So we tried doing that with one extra row, and then we were like, well, I guess we can't net anymore because that contraption that I showed y'all is attached to the bucket of the tractor. And I was like, all right, then I'm gonna just like pin up these nets and close them off. And we had only been working for like an hour. We didn't get very far.
I found you, Kay.
Excellent.
Yeah. Worried about the flowers?
I am, the roses. Then, because they're a bunch of engineers, they were like, we can make this work. So Joe, Don, and Doug came up with this system of using a long bar. I'll let Joe explain what they wanted to do.
This is our new plan.
Please talk through what is about to happen.
Taco's drinking it now.
The tractor's dead, so we're going to put a roll on this ground rod, and the downhill guy is going to hold this and drag the nets over the top.
It's gonna be great.
That's right.
It's gonna be great. They decided to walk along and put the net over, which again, not difficult on the shorter rows. It's definitely more of a shoulder workout, but we got it done. And I would guess that it was actually faster than the tractor because you really couldn't control the spin of it as much as you would have liked. And really, I think the guys just wanted to put their arms down because it's a long time to keep your arms up above your head. We made it work. We got all of the nets that we intended to get done that day done. We pinned them all up, and then we had a good relaxing break, and then it was time for more metal work. And really, Joe, our friend Joe, I don't know if he's shown up in the vlog yet. He offered to help with the tiny house stuff, so I was all about taking people who wanted to volunteer to help. So these are officially Kay's tiny house tools and supplies. There's very few because we only have the screws, the self-tapping screws. We figured out a good system. At first, all three of us were under the trailer. Doug was on the, what is that thing called? The thing with the wheels and it rolls around. It's really handy. There's a nice pad on it for your head. I don't know. So Doug called dibs on that. So me and Joe were on pieces of cardboard, and we were like, I mean, to be honest, Doug and Joe could do like 3 to 5 for as long as it took me to do one. I had to like use my hips. It was difficult. I mean, it's metal into metal. Then we started needing to cut pieces. So what Joe offered to do was he would just stay under the trailer, do all of the screwing in of the screws, and then Doug and I would cut the pieces to size. And so that is what we did. Doug had this really cool tool that attached to his drill, and it was like metal snippers. And so he could use the drill to snip. So we did that for a couple of the sheets, but it was still kind of shaky. Like it was hard to control it. Like he got a straight line like pretty well. I was very impressed. I was like, I will ruin the whole sheet of metal if I even try to do that.
It's like butter. For the end of it. Ready?
Okay. Nice. But then later on, it was just easier to use the grinder. So we used the grinder mostly to cut all the pieces of the metal, and it's way thin, so it was way easier grinding that than those price tag pieces we had to grind through, which was about like, I don't know, like a 1/4 inch thick, and this was like itty tiny. Props to Joe for staying under there. We took a lunch break. Debbie again knocking it out of the park with just making these awesome lunches for us. We had a wedge salad with like a blue cheese dressing and bacon bits, so good. And then like a spaghetti shrimp scampi situation with pine nuts, also amazing. And then of course we drank some Roussan. It was really good. Delicious Roussan. It's part of the beauty of your work site also being a vineyard. It's kind of nice. One other thing about this trailer is that the width of the trailer, it's 10 feet long, but there is the center area and then there are 2 additional skinnier areas. So we were able to do the bulk of it was that center area, and then the 2 sides we got to just cut like skinnier pieces. For the bottom, we just need to add these 2 panels, and we're gonna cut a small panel for there, and then these long skinny gaps we're going to cut from our extras. So these were our spares, so we'll be able to cut these down. We left enough room on the sides or we could caulk it, and then because of the mini rib and the way it goes against the trailer, so it'll like do this kind of mini rib situation, there is just enough space there where it could drain water if there's a heavy rain or something, which is good because my insulation is going to sit right on top of that metal and you don't want it to hold moisture and get moldy. I have some stainless wool, like the scrubbers that you use for your dishes. We're gonna use pieces of that to kind of like put it in each ridge of the mini rib so that, you know, bugs and stuff can't really get in. So the plan is to get these stainless steel scrubbers and then poke pieces of it into each little gap just so that we can make sure not a lot of bugs can get in. We don't like bugs. Got the whole like bottom floor done, 24 by 10 feet of surface area. It all has a belly pan. It looks great. Underneath may look very interesting, but overall, I'm so happy that we decided to go this route. It was cost effective. It was hard to do, but not, I feel like it's not as hard as it would have been with the galvanized sheet rolls. And also we got a really great result. I feel like it looks good, it looks sturdy. Very happy with that whole project. So my trailer has a bottom. Next up is caulking the sides just to help seal it up a bit. And then we also need to do the gooseneck platform. That one's gonna be a bit tricky because it's got like an interesting shape because the gooseneck kind of comes in like a triangle. So we'll have to cut some pieces. That'll be interesting. I also have been going window shopping for Home Depot. They have an interesting setup. They have a desk. Right. No one showed up. Had them page someone. No one showed up. Asked someone else to page them. No one showed up. And I had Taco with me and I was just like, well, I guess I'll look at these brochures. And I was just like sitting at the desk. Stuff started like printing out of their printer and I was like, well, if no one's here. So I like started looking at it and they were like modules for about Windows. So it made me think that possibly the window person was training someone else on Windows and that's why they were not available. But saw some signs everywhere of call us anytime for assistance. So I am in the Home Depot store calling them to talk about Windows. But that was actually really apropos because the lady who helped me over the phone was super nice, really like talked through each window with me, was super patient. I was like, I've never had to buy windows before. They just are there. They just exist. And so luckily my blueprints from Summit Tiny Homes were awesome because every single window was called out. There was a page for all the sizes. They even had like the model that they used for the skylights. So I was able to ensure that I was getting the right thing for every piece. Now, some windows for build code have to have a minimum egress to allow for a person to either escape or enter for rescue emergency situations. It's all about safety. It needs to be 5.7 square feet of one continuous area. So because my tiny house has a loft, it needs to have an egress window up top so I can escape the loft if heaven forbid something happens. And also one of the first floor windows also had to have an egress. So the blueprints pointed out which ones that would be. The size, unfortunately, of the window brand or company or whatever that I was looking for could not do the 5.7, but we found a loophole where some places allow you to do 5.0. So we had to make the windows a couple inches taller. So now they are 28 by 72 for the 2 loft windows, and those will be sliding. And so the part that can slide open will be the egress of 5 square feet. And then the bottom windows, all of them are also sliding except the one in the bathroom, which will be like a little awning window. And I initially got that quoted with tempered glass because it's in the bathroom, but that made it super expensive. So I think I still need to do some window shopping to get a better picture of price, but I do need to order them soon because apparently the kind I want is super popular. Of course, I want black on black on black, and she was like, it's gonna take a while for these to come in. So I need to order them soon so that when we're ready for windows, we have the windows, because that could take weeks to have them done. But they do delivery, which is great. So I don't know, I'm pretty excited. Like, I feel like I'm getting closer. But oh my gosh, Taco. Okay, I'm gonna hold her because she's being a little jerk. So yes, anyways, what we're gonna do next is gooseneck metal underneath, and then we'll be framing. Thank you so much for following me on this channel. If you are not subscribed, please subscribe, like the videos, do all the YouTube things, and until next time.